Hello and welcome into another episode of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside Heath Bell, here to break down all things San Diego Padres, Major League Baseball, and more. Heath, over the course of a 162-game season, you're going to have good days and bad days, days where everything is clicking, everything's going your way, and it feels easy. There's going to be days where nothing is going your way. You feel like just getting bad news all the way around. Team doesn't play well on the field. Every team is going to go through it. It's important not to get too high or too low. The Padres had one of those bad days yesterday where nothing went right. Jackson Merrill was placed on the injured list before the game with a hamstring injury. During the game, both Jake Cronenworth and Fernando Tatis Jr. left with injuries. Dylan Cease allowed 9 runs in 4 innings, tying his career high for runs allowed in a game. We saw Oscar Gonzalez fail to pick up a ground ball in the outfield, rolled past him. The A's were running around the bases like little leaguers. 10-4 loss, just all the way around. A rough day for the Padres. Again, they happen, but still never fun when they happen.
Yeah, here's the thing. Baseball's a marathon season. I know it's generic, this and that, but like Dylan went out there and literally balls would go right down the line. You can't predict certain things like that. A bloop shot, so you jam somebody or right off the end of the bat and it would find a hole. No. And then your defense just is sloppy behind you. You kind of have to chalk it up to be like, hey, this is just one of those days that suck. Usually it's like June or July. It's just that one bad day and then you move on. When it happens early in the season, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then here's the thing. You got Jackson Merrill that gets hurt and goes on the injured list that really, I didn't see any like injuries of a hamstring, but you're probably being more cautionary than anything. So I get it. It's your young new stud. But, I would have joked with him in the clubhouse, oh, sign your contract, then go on the DL. But the thing is, and then all of a sudden Cronenworth gets hurt. Maybe it's the green shoes. Maybe it's not. Then Tatis, a little weary about that. But it was almost like a domino effect what was happening. And you throw a good pitch right down the line, off the end of the bat, probably broken bat, single, CNI, with, dog, anyway. So you just have to take a step back. You got to just like Machado, maybe have like a meeting, not a meeting, but like, hey boys, just forget about tomorrow. Forget about yesterday. Let's worry about tomorrow or today. Just, hey, don't worry about it, guys. Let's just play ball. Let's just try to win every at bat. Let's just try to win every inning. Let's get back to the basics. That's what you got to do. You got somebody to kind of speak up because here's the other hindsight. If something like that happens, say Cronenworth, Tatis not in the lineup, you don't particularly play well today, then it could snowball like, oh my gosh, have we lost our guys? Like, and then you start second guessing yourself. No. If 1 or 2 people start doing it, then more people do it. That's why you need a team leader just to kind of like chalk it up to, hey man, this is what happens in Oakland. Oakland's in a minor league ballpark now. Are they in Vegas? Are they not going to Vegas? Let's just chalk it up to one of those days. And you know what? Next week we'll totally forget about this, but we got to go back to the basics. And most likely Cronenworth and Tatis not going to be in the lineup. Yeah. But, like I was saying last night, somebody's got to step up. Is it Machado saying something in the clubhouse, keeping the dugout, light and on their feet, or is it the next pitcher comes in and says, hey, I'm going to take this over. I'm going to pitch a shutout through 6 or 7 and I'm just going to get the job done and like give everybody a breather, So somebody needs to step up in the clubhouse, and I'd love to see a starting pitcher do that. But, I'm hoping like, somebody in the clubhouse can kind of keep everybody light, or even Tatis, just in the clubhouse, just say, don't worry about it, guys. I'll be back, this and that, but not relying on Tatis, not relying on Jackson Merrill or Cronenworth. Rely on you're a baseball team, your family, you come together, everybody can pick up everybody and, take that breather as those guys get hurt.
Yeah, in terms of what happened on the field, like you said, flush it, bad day, it happens. It's a long season. These guys are professionals. Every single team from, the teams that are going to finish the year in first place and potentially win the World Series to the teams that are going to be in last place are going to have bad days. It happens. Flush it, move on, nothing you can do about it. In terms of the injuries, obviously those are very concerning. So the initial indications are that none of these will keep any of these players out for a particularly long time. Jackson Merrill placed on the 10-day IL with the hamstring injury. Mike Schultz said yesterday that they think it'll be right around the 10 days, so right around the minimum IL stay. So in theory, again, he'll be back. Hamstrings can be tricky. You don't want to push them, especially early in the season, but at least right now, it looks like it'll keep him out just for the minimum 10-day IL stay or right around there.
And one thing I'll say about that is in my day, when you're on the DL, it had to be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It had to be 14 days. Guys would deal with hamstring issues and be like, okay, you're not going to play for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
Let's reassess it. And I think since there's that 10-day IL now, that they're real easy to put people on the injured reserve just because of that. It's a short, quick 10 days is nothing in baseball.
Yeah, and then in terms of Fernando Tatis Jr., who aggravated his surgically repaired shoulder, you could see it on a swing early in the game yesterday that it just didn't look right. Then he aggravated it sliding into third base later in the game and left. Jake Cronenworth cramped up. You'll remember he took a 94-mile-an-hour fastball off. It looked like his ribs, kidney area, had a nasty contusion against the Cubs. Then, swinging the bat against the A's just kind of cramped up on him. So Fernando Tatis Jr. and Jake Cronenworth are not in the lineup today for the finale against the A's. They will have an off day on Thursday. In theory, the hope is they'll be back lineup Friday. Again, early in the season, there's no reason to push it. There's a lot of baseball left. And if anything, now's the time you want to give guys a little bit of extra time, be a little extra cautious so that when they do come back, they're 100% ready to go. There's no reason to push anything. So again, we'll see if Tatis and Cronenworth are back in the lineup Friday, if Merrill is activated as soon as the 10 days are up. But all indications are that none of these players suffered injuries that at this point will look like it'll keep them out for, weeks or months or anything like that.
Yeah, the only one I'm really worried about or a little concerned about is Tatis.
Yeah.
Just because it's, repaired shoulder or whatnot. Cronenworth is basically dealing with a nasty bruise. That's kind of my old saying.
Yeah. You
got to have a little pushing for the cushion. If you have a little fat on you, have that one ab instead of the six pack, then you don't get those bruises bad. You got a little cushion. But, Jackson Merrill, I just think it's a little hamstring. The guy runs 24/7. And you got to look back. He was a shortstop. You're not sprinting as much. And this past year and this year, he's a center fielder. You run a heck of a lot more. And the guy's been hitting. So he's been running around the bases a whole lot too. That's also great. And it's a different thing. He's just going to grow into that center field position. But Tatis with the shoulder I would just be careful a little bit, be a little extra TLC with him because he does swing real hard.
Yeah.
That could irritate him and then irritate down the road. So I would be a little bit more cautionary with him. Jackson's going to be probably fine in 10 days. He'll probably be fine in 5 days. And then Cronenworth, as soon as the bruise, his body heals, he'll be fine. He'll be back out there. It's not a big thing. And then, I got to say, I love his green shoes, but I just want to know what's the start. But it reminds me of the Savannah Bananas, the Irish from the Party Animals. Like, dude, has he got some Irish in him or something? But anyway, the bruises and injuries, it's just one of those things that, like I said, hamstring is just kind of like it could be cramped, this and that, Cronenworth.
It tightened up on him in Chicago. It was, a lot of cold weather. They talked about his hamstring being a little bit tight. So that's what they're not calling it a strain. They're not calling it a pull. It's just a tight hamstrings, take it easy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And like you said, it's early in the season. That's when you take your breaks. That's when, when it starts warming up, and then you kind of push it. This is the best time to take a step back and this and that. And I think they're doing that. But just like I said, the Tatis is the only one that I would be a little extra, when he comes back for a game, even if he does really good, maybe give him another day off, play 2, take 1 day off, kind of do that a little bit for maybe the next 3 or 4 weeks to kind of get him there. Because if you have a bum shoulder and you're playing through it, look at Machado. Machado had a little bit of, knees last year?
Elbow. Yeah.
Beginning to middle of the season, he didn't do a whole lot, and he was trying to play through it. The best, he's probably better than half the team, 50%. Yeah. But he started feeling better at the end of the season and started doing well. Well, if we got Machado feeling better the whole season, then we get, like early on last year, I was saying, hey, take a couple weeks off, bud. Let's have you at 100%. It's early. It's okay. And that's where I would have Tatis right now. Just give him a little break, a little bit more, than you would having 2 days off a week or 3 days and then 2 days off just to keep that shoulder there. Because, I mean, I'm a pitcher, so I know about shoulders and this and that. And when it starts irritating you, then you change your arm angle or he's going to change his swing. And then all of a sudden the timing's going to be off. And there's all these different factors. So that's the only one I'm really worried about. Otherwise, I'm not too worried about this little bumps and bruises, I guess you'd say. I don't really want to say injuries.
Yeah, again, it happens. And you're right with Tatis. Again, that left shoulder has given him problems before. You'll remember when he was playing shortstop, it was hurting him. It was affecting his ability to be more accurate on his throws. It was affecting his direction. We saw a lot of errors, and ultimately he had to move off the position in large part because of that. And again, shoulders can be tricky, especially to be true for pitchers, but it's with position players as well. That front shoulder, if it's not 100% right, it affects everything. Your swing, it's going to affect his throws from right field. You want to make sure he's 100% healthy. And we've talked about the need for people to step up because in the interim, at least today and potentially longer, the Padres are without 1/3 of their starting lineup. It's not like it's the guys at the bottom of the lineup. It's guys who are impact key pieces. Fernando Tatis Jr., Jackson Merrill are, you could argue, two of the Padres' three best players. Jake Cronenworth has been a staple of this team for years now and is in the middle of their order. So it's important to have guys step up. And we've seen Gavin Sheets get off to a really good start. The Padres brought up Oscar Gonzalez yesterday from AAA. We've seen, again, Jose Iglesias, come through some big hits in previous years. So now's the time for guys to step up. We've talked about there's not a lot of depth in this organization. So it's a lot of these veterans who are signed on non-roster deals that it's going to be on them to kind of, keep things humming along. And again, this is their shot.
And this is what guys have to realize. And sometimes you go to AAA and you come up to the big leagues and you're like, okay, I gotta help out. I got to do this. I got to do that. Really what you need to do is just keep doing what you've been doing in AAA up here. You get some hits. You don't need to hit home runs. You don't need to hit the big 2-run home run or the comeback. Get on base. Play good defense. Don't let the ball get behind you. Just do the little things good. Bunt, hit the ball over. Just do that. Maybe play a little bit more small ball because you don't have that power or you're key guys. But the thing is, don't change anything, the guys that come up, because I feel like some guys, like say Iglesias, might play a little bit more. And he's been around the league, so he understands a little bit better. But you come up and you're like, okay, I'm going to play this next week a lot more because so-and-so's hurt or just taking a rest. Okay, I got to be that guy. No, you don't have to be that guy. Be you.
You don't want to try and do too much.
Well, and it's like I see this all the time. Guys comes up from the AAA starter. And sometimes this happens. All of a sudden, some players will say, okay, this is how you pitch in the big leagues. Hey, you pitched in AAA really good. Do the exact same thing up here. There's a reason why you got called up. If you change things, usually it doesn't work well. Just do your style and you'll pitch really well. I mean, position players is kind of the same thing where I feel like if somebody gets called up as a position player, put them in the game right away. Don't let them sit for a day and kind of let it soak in because all you're going to think is, oh gosh, I'm in the big leagues. This is great. Everybody's watching here. I hope I don't screw up. I hope I don't strike out. Hope I don't give up 5 runs in the first inning. If you just go out there and play, then it's like you're not thinking of anything but executing your pitches, having good swings on the ball, doing the little things. So as long as the veteran guys can kind of tell the young guys that and just make them relaxed. I used to tell young guys when you get called up, I said, you want to know the trick in the big leagues? And people would always go, yeah, what is it? And I said, the first game or until you play, because I would love to play you the first game. Don't look at the fans. Don't look up at the stadium. Don't look at the scoreboard. Focus on the guys on the field and don't look at anything else. Don't look at the scoreboard and like the highlight roll and before the game. Hey, if somebody hits a home run, like Machado, if he hits a home run, don't look at the scoreboard and watch the highlight of a home run because most AAA stadiums don't have big scoreboards like that and jumbotrons. Yeah. Focus on the game because the game's not different. The only thing is different is the stadium. There's more people. There's 3 decks. There's 4 decks. That's the only difference. And as soon as you get that caught up in your head, then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I'm in the big leagues. Where if you just played baseball, it's the same thing, just faster than Little League. I mean, the dimensions are a little bit different, or like just say high school. It's 90 feet. And most high school fields are the size of a baseball diamond. Even big league stadiums, it just looks bigger because you have a stadium. That's all it is. And I know some high school fields are smaller, but for the most part, the dimensions are the same. It's 400 center field, it's 310 down the lines, this and that. But even, Colorado and Oakland now, they're all different dimensions. Even Philly is probably like 240 down the line. But
Yankee Stadium, yeah. Three feels like it's 240 to right field. But I get your point. It's still debate. It's still baseball. It's still the game, and you got to step up. All right, Heath, we're going to take a quick break here from our sponsors. After that, I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the guys who are in a position to step up and what their outlooks look like. We also need to talk about the Padres starting rotation and their struggles. We're going to head on all that as soon as we hear this quick word from our sponsor.
FT fam, you got to check out what Harry's brings to the table. And I hope that if you're listening to this, you check out the video version of this conversation at some point, because that razor, Eric Kratz, looks like it stands out for multiple reasons.
I mean, I'll take the cover off. All these blades, each one of them ridiculously sharp, meant for a nice smoothness here and up there.
German engineered blades made in their own factory. They stay sharp longer. Okay. You've got customizable delivery options. Harry stands out for the sharpness, for the pricing, for the variety. And you can get a 5-blade razor, a weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover for just $3 at harrys.com/foul. Get the edge on your shave with Harry's. Normally their trial set's $13 right now. You can get it for just $3 at harrys.com/foul. That's our exclusive FT link, harrys.com/foul, for a $3 trial set.
All right, welcome back to Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside Heath Bell. Heath, before the break, we talked a lot about the Padres needing guys to step up. And I think it's important to remember at this time last year, look, Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove, Fernando Tatis Jr. all missed significant time last season. Xander Bogaerts missed most of the first half on the IL. Manny Machado was not 100%, got the slowest start of his career. Ha-Seong Kim took a huge step back. The Padres had a lot of things not go right for them, both in terms of injuries and performance, the first half of last year. And at this time last year, you have to remember, Michael King was unproven as a starter. He was a swingman who had never started more than 9 games in a season. Jackson Merrill was a rookie 2 weeks into his big league career who had barely played above Double-A and was completely unproven. Jurickson Profar was a veteran who was back on a 1-year, $1 million deal. And if you had said, what's more likely to happen? He'll be an all-star, he'll be out of baseball in a year, you would have said out of baseball in a year based on what had happened the previous year. And all three of them stepped up in a huge, huge, huge way. Fast forward to now, Michael King and Jackson Merrill were in top 10 in MVP and Cy Young Award voting last year. Jurickson Profar got a $42 million deal and was an all-star. He has since tested positive for PEDs, but nonetheless was a huge part of the Padres' success last year. So, and also go to Kyle Higashioka. He wasn't even their starting catcher at the beginning of last year. Luis Campusano was. Higashioka stepped up, hit a career-high 17 homers, and really gave them some length at the bottom of the lineup. So a lot of guys who we think of as core players this year, at this time last year, were giant question marks. And that's where, again, guys stepping up is so key to a team's success. And we saw the Padres do it last year where a lot of their core guys got hurt, weren't 100%. And they had other players step up, kept them afloat throughout the first half. And then when everyone got healthy, they took off in the second half. So the Padres have been in this situation before, and you could argue, frankly, they were in a worse situation last year given how long they were without a lot of these key players. And now it's just about, again, finding this year's crop of guys. Who is this year's Michael King? Who is this year's Jackson Merrill? Who is this year's Jurickson Profar? Guys who are unproven or, low-dollar signees that step up and have big seasons for the Padres.
Yeah, I really think Iglesias is kind of the guy that could step up I'm looking to, and actually Xander Bogaerts. He's kind of that guy that wants to show that, hey, I had some down years. I can do this. I can play short. I can pick the team up when it needs to. And Iglesias, he kind of carried the Mets last year into the playoffs, where if we could get him hot for the next 2 or 3 weeks, that would be great. Have him, carry us into the next month. So, and the starting pitching, here's what happens. I really watch starting pitching.
Yeah.
I look where the ball is. Okay, the first homestand was great. Everybody did good. But really what I looked at, starting pitching kept the ball down. They had the ball down in the zone, and they finished up in the zone. And I think I said that 2 weeks ago, where you start low, you finish high, hitters can't hit it. You finish high, you finish low, hitters crush that ball.
No.
Don't understand it, but that's the way it is. Where in Chicago, the ball has been elevated a little bit. I don't know if it was tiredness. I don't know if it just over exhaustion, maybe that hype of, opening day, we're winning, that first loss, all of a sudden it's like, okay, you got to keep winning. Then as soon as that first loss, you're just kind of like, okay, there's no that pressure anymore. So let me just relax. Where people always ask me back in the day, where did you like pitching the most besides home?
Yeah.
And I always said Philly and Colorado. And they said, why are those two places? And I said, because you had to be on your A game. Otherwise, it was a home run. Like, it just made me focus so much more. And it was like a competition with me. I have to be so perfect in these ballparks, even though I try to be perfect all the time. But it was just those ballparks, you could get a jam shot home run off the end of the bat, just a routine fly ball, and the ball carries and it's gone. And those are the places that I love to play, because it was that competition in me, where I feel like pitchers, and it happened in Chicago and it's happened in is it Sacramento where Oakland is?
Yeah, it's West Sacramento technically, but yes, it's Sacramento.
I don't want to say Oakland anymore. It's a shame they're not there anymore. But anyway, it's the starting pitching. Even Dylan last night, he was kind of mid to upper thighs first pitch.
And getting a lot of plate. He's getting a lot of.
Well, here's the thing. It's not so much the middle of the plate. It's the height. If you're mid to upper thighs just below the waist, that's too high. But if you're thighs and you're missing below the knees, that's beautiful. That's where you want to be, because you're down in the zone. Where I feel like you could even throw down the middle and it's down at the knee level. You can't do a whole lot with. You still might give up a hit, this and that, but you can't do a whole lot with that. So, but if you're at mid thighs, it's amazing. It's only about 4 or 5 inches height wise. They can crush that ball. And yeah, he was getting too much to the plate, but for me, it wasn't too much to the plate. It was the height. It was just below the belt. It was mid thigh, where you need to be below the mid thigh. That's where I've seen the starting pitching kind of struggle ever since Chicago. And I don't know, maybe because Chicago was a little cold. I mean, that does happen. But then Sacramento, maybe because I don't know what the facilities are. I mean, do they feel like it's a minor league ballpark? I mean,
yes, it is definitely a minor
league ballpark. But is the club, because I'll give you this example. I've been through the minor leagues a lot. And there were some clubhouses that you literally go and you're like, this clubhouse is horrible. Yes. And you don't have that. I can relax in the clubhouse and relax. Like, I'll give you an example. Boston used to be that way, and Wrigley is a little bit that way, where they're so small together.
Yeah.
You just can't sit in your locker and just relax and decompress before the game, after batting practice, before the game, after the game, whatnot. You just kind of have to get out of people's way, this and that. Where that does affect you a little bit, because the game is it's 90% mental. So that's the take, going to Chicago. Hey, we lost a couple. Chicago was in a hot, tearing it up, and you didn't do well there. And then go to Sacramento, where, gosh, we're in a minor league ballpark. Maybe the morale is just a little down because the environment. Maybe they're sending a Red Roof in Sacramento. I don't know, but because that's where we did the minor league ballparks.
I will say Sacramento is a nice city where there's a lot of good hotels, but you're right.
I have relatives that live in Sacramento. I love Sacramento, but I'm just saying it's a minor league ballpark. So
yeah, no, I think it's important to raise the starting pitching, and we talk about guys stepping up right in the lineup. I think you certainly can see, again, Gavin Sheets has been off to a great start. He's batting cleanup today. Oscar Gonzalez has been a productive hitter in the past with Cleveland. Had a bad year last year. Got off to a little bit of an inauspicious start in his first start with the Padres yesterday, but we'll see if he's able to do some damage. And this is where, again, the guys like Jason Hayward, Yuli Gurriel, Jose Iglesias, we need to see them step up. Martin Maldonado's actually been hitting, which has been amazing early in the season. So we'll see if he can continue that and help out the lineup with losing Tatis and Cronenworth and Merrill for some point in time. But, the starting pitching, it's important you raise it and diagnose those struggles. So the last turn through the rotation, which is the first road start for all 5 of the Padres starting pitchers. Padres starters have thrown a combined, in 5 starts, 18 innings. So they're averaging less than 4 innings a start. 27 hits allowed, 22 earned runs, 17 walks, and 12 Ks. That's an 11 ERA, nearly a walk an inning, more than a hit allowed per inning. It has been a rough stretch for the Padres starters. And what we saw in Chicago with Randy Vasquez, Nick Pivetta, and Kyle Hart was a real hard time finding the strike zone. Vasquez and Pivetta walked runs in early in their starts. Kyle Hart walked 4 batters and didn't get out of the first inning.
Mm-hmm.
With Michael King and Dylan Cease, the issue hasn't been walks, it's been getting hit. Michael King, who in fairness was able to grind through, still picked up the win. 5 2/3, 8 hits allowed. Dylan Cease, we saw last night, 4 innings, 9 hits allowed, 9 runs. So it's been a rough stretch. Anytime you have an 11 ERA as a group and have allowed 27 hits in 18 innings, averaging less than 4 innings a start, it's been ugly all the way around. And I do feel like you've had a segment of guys not getting enough of the plate and a segment of guys getting too much of the plate. For you, Heath, I mean, again, it's just, hey, flush it. Again, bad starts are bound to happen for every start in baseball. I don't care who you are. And it just seems like they've all been bunched up at once here for the Padres.
Yeah, that's where, I hate to say we don't really have a number one. That's where you're missing, you Darvish and stuff, or Musgrove is usually like me. We had Jake Peavy, everybody would kind of struggle. Then you had Peavy. It's like, okay, I'm picking up the slack today. I'm going to be a little bit more on my A game just because I have to be for the team. And, maybe don't go out as much or this or that, or there's a lot of different things you can do. But somebody needs to step up as the starting rotation. And here's the thing. Early on, we weren't walking anybody. And walks breed hits and breeds runs. And that's the other aspect. And, you have some pitchers that are throwing too many strikes, but I really think the ball's elevated than other guys that are probably being a little too fine because, like Hart, I felt like was trying to nibble too much. And the Chicago Cubs were a really good team. And it was like they're not going to fish for those. So you have to be on the plate and then expand from the plate. But, it's a give and take. You just, like you said, you have to flush it. You have to realize, okay, what do I need to do is better? Sometimes it's like if I give up a hit, that's fine. But I back in the day, this is what I was taught, and I always go back to it. Try to throw 3 or less pitches to every guy you face. And Greg Maddux used to tell me, he's like, 3, I want to throw 1. I want to throw 1 that he's going to ground out or get out in the first pitch. So I don't even have to throw those other 2. But what I was taught in the minors, 3 or less pitches, you can never walk anybody. Even if you throw the first 2 ball, get the next one, like a little sinker or something, a little cutter, make them roll over. If they hit the balls, fine. The next guy, 3 or less, try to get it where, your defense is moving this and that. But then again, hey, we do a lot of shifts, and I've watched a couple games where a ball's hit and I'm like, dude, where's the shortstop or where's the third baseman? And, they pan out and we shift it over a little bit. We don't the full shift, but I'm like, that's an easy out. Or where's the second baseman? But that's where sometimes when the pitching staff is struggling, I feel like don't use the shift as much because this game is over 150 years old. There's a reason why second basemen are there, shortstops are there, third baseman, first baseman. There's a reason why they put people there is because that's where the majority of the balls go to, especially when things are not going well. But you just have to go back to the basics. And there was one time I was struggling, and the best thing that I ever did is I was driving. I saw a Little League game. I was on a weekend, I think, or we had a day off, and it was maybe at night or something. And I just watched a Little League game for 3 or 4 innings. And I was like, dude, they're having fun. They're just trying to throw strikes, just trying to play ball. And it got back to, okay, let's just try to have fun. I'm a good pitcher. Let's execute, each pitch. I don't have to get them out on this pitch. I don't have to throw it by him this pitch. I don't have to have a swing and miss. Let's just throw and execute my pitches, and then, good things will happen. So I feel like that's what our starting pitcher needs to do. Just go out there, execute 1 pitch at a time, because this is the worst thing that ever happens. Your starting pitcher, like you said, we averaged 4 innings. They need to really average 5 or 6 innings. I don't like 5. I really think starters should go 6, but the game has changed a little bit. But that's where you gotta have it in your mindset. I gotta go 5 or 6 innings. I got to throw the kitchen sink today. If I got to drop my arm to make it work today, if I got to do this to make it work, don't just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again to go, well, my sinker's not working, or I can't get this ball down. No, tell yourself, I can get it down. I'm going to get this guy out. You don't get him out. Okay, I'm going to get the next guy out. I'm going to get the ground ball double play. No. And last thing before I let you talk is, because I just keep going, is if you're out there pitching and you're like, oh my gosh, don't hit this ball, they're going to hit it. They're going to crush it. If you're out there, I'm going to get you out. And even if you don't, I'm going to get you out, the next guy. If you have that attitude, you're going to do better, because no hitter goes up there and goes, okay, just let me get on. Let me walk. They're like, no, I'm going to crush this ball. If they're like, this guy's good, I don't know if I'm going to get a hit, they never get hits.
Right. You want to be aggressive. You want to attack.
You got to have a positive attitude. And
yeah,
it's just, it's frustrating because last year, it's almost like Snell. Was it Snell a couple years ago could not win at home, but he could only win on the road? Well, now it's like we're flipping it. We can't win on the road, but we can win at home.
And again, it's really, really early. I think it's important to not, go crazy over one or two bad starts. Everyone's going to have them over the course of the season. I think it's just, again, they all bunched up at once. And now it's just about, okay, flush it, course correct. Let's move forward. We know the talent these guys have. And again, not excusing poor performance, but I do think context is important as well. The Cubs are a really, really, really good offense. I talked about this during our preseason preview show where I thought they're going to win the Central, and 1-9, this is a very, very dangerous offense. And we've seen that. They've been hitting anyone and everyone, piling up, 8, 9, 10 runs a game against all comers. And look, the Padres went on the road in a tough place to play in cold weather, and a really good offense beat them 2 out of 3. And that's going to happen. Oakland, as we've talked about, I call them Oakland. The A's, we've talked about, a lot of people have picked them as a sleeper team this year. I can't get there because of their pitching, but they have a really good young lineup. You look at Tyler Soderstrom, you look at Shea Langoliers, Lawrence Butler, J.J. Bleday, Jacob Wilson, all really good young players, adding guys like Brent Rooker and Miguel Andujar, who are more veteran but can absolutely hit. There are some dangerous bats in this lineup, and they're also playing in a ballpark that is a small AAA ballpark with low walls. Again, a good young offense playing in a hitter-friendly environment. They're going to get there. So it's not like the Padres pitchers went out and just got their brains beat in by the Marlins and the Pirates, 2 offenses that barely qualify as major league caliber. Again, the Cubs are one of the best offenses in baseball. The A's have a really good young offense in a very, very hitter-friendly environment. So again, it happens. It's the major leagues. Everyone's good. Well, mostly everyone's good. I'm not going to say the Marlins are good. Mostly everyone's good. And, the old saying, those guys drive nice cars too. It's just going to be something where bad days are going to happen, especially when we're facing good offenses on the road.
They're big leaguers too, and people forget that. It's like, oh, the A's, they're in this ballpark, they're this. They're big leaguers too. Half their team would be a starting on the starting, in the starting lineup for most teams. So it's just you have to. I always tell my son, he's like trying to win every single game. I go, look, you got to win every series.
Yeah.
And against Oakland, if they win tonight, hey, you got the series. So it's just one of those things. You got to win the series. You're going to lose some games. If you win 100 games, you're going to lose 62. That's more than 2 months of losing games. So it's just one of those things. You got to take your bumps. It's okay. Like I said early on, Machado or somebody needs to be in the lineup saying, okay, guys, don't worry about it. Or even the coaching staff. Hey, let's win the first inning today. Let's just try to do that. Let's try to go out there, play first inning. Let's do that. Win the clean one. After the first inning comes in, maybe we score, maybe we don't. Hey, let's do it again. Let's not try to win the whole game in the first inning. Like especially last night, score 3, feeling good. Machado hit a home run, and then give up 6.
And then score only 1 run the rest of the night.
Yeah, where it's just kind of like, it's a morale bummer, this and that, but that's where you get the team leaders. You get maybe Jason Hayward to come up and don't worry about it, guys. Here we go. This is fine. Let's do the small things. We can't win the game in the first inning. We got to do it little by little. Yeah. And that's the name of the game. But sometimes when you score like the first inning, you're like, oh, we got this. And you kind of put your, mental game on the back burner. Hey, we're winning. We're a way better team than our on paper. Yeah, it's great, but the game's not over. So yeah, it's fine. I know some fans that went to those games and they were really bummed out. They called me. They're like, what is going on? And I'm like, It's early. It's
Remember, the Padres are 9-3. Like, I feel like there's already a bit of fatalism. And again, we have to remember, baseball is not college football. After Sunday, the comeback went over the Cubs. Everyone's like, yeah, look at us. Way to go. Win of the season. We're great. We're going to win the West. 2 days later, they lose a game against the A's. And
well, it's because we're in first place and the Dodgers are in third. It's like nobody thought that would happen, but it's, it's second.
It's April 9th. Like, I think they say
nobody would pick that. So.
No one has ever won or clinched anything on April 9th. So I think it's important. Again, it's a long season. There's a lot of baseball left to be played. Like you said, Padres are finishing up their series with the rubber match against the A's later this afternoon. They'll try and win the series. And then we'll just see if the key players, Jackson Merrill, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Jake Cronenworth, are able to get healthy and back in the lineup as soon as possible. Heath, any final thoughts here before we wrap up?
No, my final thought is, the bench players, this is the perfect example this week for you guys to go out there and show why you're on the team. And, I think Sheets is doing a great job at it. Glacius kind of pick it up a little bit, kind of show that, hey, this is why we need you for these.
Gurriel had a double the other day after, not really doing a whole lot aside from that pitch.
I'm just like, hey, show me a couple days in a row. That's all.
Yeah.
Have good at bats a couple days. He's been hitting the ball, but just keep it going. And you don't have to do anything crazy. You don't have to hit 3 hits a game. Just get a couple hits, do some little bit here and there, and then guys play some good defense, and I think we'll be fine. Here's the thing. You got Chicago that's cold and windy, crazy. You got Sacramento, weird stadium. You got it over with. Now let's go back and let's do what we do. So I think the boys will be fine. It's like I said, the only worry I have is, Tatis' shoulder. Let's just be a little bit more cautious with him. Then Cronenworth will be back. Jackson Merrill will be back. Let's just be careful with that shoulder so we get him all year long.
Absolutely. We'll see what it ultimately looks like. But again, all things being even, the Padres are 9-3. They're off to a great start, and we'll see if they're able to continue it. This has been another edition of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. Go ahead and give us a review, like, subscribe. Let us know what you think. It really helps us out, all your interactions. So definitely leave a review and let us know how you're enjoying the show so far. For Heath Bell, I'm Kyle Glaser. Thanks for watching and listening. See you later this week.